All right, so we're going to start out by folding our paper in half sideways, or hamburger fold. And then you're going to open it up and fold it in half the other direction, hot dog fold. And we'll open it up, fold it back in half the other direction and half, so we've got it in quarters, and then half one more time so that when you open it up, you're going to have 8 sections. And we're going to create a pattern reference. So numbering 1 through 8. Teacher can pause here to wait for everybody to get caught up. Right, and we're going to draw different types of patterns. You don't have to do the ones I'm doing. These are just some examples to help you out. But here you've got just simple stripes going diagonally across the square, and then polka dots. A pattern is any shape or line that repeats. So any element of art that repeats. So it could be shapes, it could be lines, it could be colors repeating. Those all create patterns. Do some squiggly lines, or wavy lines. And the next one, we're going to do zigzag lines. Notice they don't have to be perfect. These zigzag lines are running vertically from top to bottom. Our wavy lines ran horizontally from side to side. You want to fill in that whole area with whatever pattern you choose. This one I'm doing some spirals. I'm doing spirals going to the left and spirals going to the right to make it look a little bit more even. Some of the spirals connect. This one looks more like sprinkles, little lines going every which direction, then filled in with some little dots as well. It's kind of a fun pattern. It reminds me of sprinkles on ice cream. You can do triangles repeating. Have them kind of fill in opposite directions. Again, any shape or line or color that repeats is going to create a different pattern. So see which patterns you can come up with on your own. Again, you can copy these and use these if you want, but you can also come up with your own patterns. Look around the room right now and see what kinds of patterns you see around you. Look at the bottom of your shoe. Look at the ceiling. Look at the floor. Look at the shirts different people are wearing. Do you see any patterns there? And in the last one, I'm going to do little flowers. Just fun, little, simple, abstract flowers, different sizes. But again, because they are repeating, they make a pattern. Okay, so you're going to have this to help you with our project. Okay, so now I want you to think about somewhere you'd love to go on vacation, somewhere you'd rather be right now, relaxing. Think about where you'd want to be, and now we're going to draw it. Okay, so for me, I would love to be on a beach somewhere with an island that I could see. So I'm going to draw the sand line, and then I'm going to draw my ocean. You can use your pencil or you can go straight to a black marker if you are sure you know what you want. I'm going to draw 2 lines for my water just to give it some extra depth because all of those layers are going to be what creates the space. I'm going to draw a curved line for my island. And then I'm going to draw the trunks for my tree. 2 lines coming down. Close them off to make a shape. And do another one for another tree over to the side. Again, close that one off at the bottom as well. And then I'm going to draw the shapes. Just going to make it very simple. Draw shapes to create the coconuts and the palm fronds for my palm trees. Make sure you connect all of your shapes, all of your lines to make shapes. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. This time starting with my coconuts, and then draw the palm fronds in. And you'll see with drawing with the marker, I do have some areas where some of my shapes overlap. But that's okay, because when we put the pattern in, it's going to help kind of disguise some of those little things. Like right there, when I go, now I can just take and put a pattern in there, and I'm going to make some stripes along the tree trunk, and now you won't notice where it overlapped. And I'm just going to go in all my other areas and fill in with different patterns. You can go back and use that pattern reference that we created to help you remember some different patterns if you need help. Otherwise, you can make them up as you go. You can do some more bold patterns that you can fill in with different colors, or you could do smaller patterns that you'll just color on top of. So reviewing back to that pattern sheet, getting some additional ideas. Some squiggly lines. I'm going to repeat that as we go. Okay, your teacher can pause here while everyone finishes before moving on to color. Okay, so as we finish up the pattern, now we're going to move on to the color. You have some choices with color. The first one is going to be the temper sticks. And the temper sticks are kind of like glue sticks, but you only need to twist them out a little bit to be able to use them. Otherwise, you'll end up wasting them. So they're nice because they cover a big area pretty quickly. They go on, have a similar cover like paint, but they're nice and dry. So it makes it really nice because they're not super messy. So you can go in and just go around and cover your big areas. If you need to get some detail area in, you can always use the side of the temper stick. Just kind of using like the edge of it when you need to get into spaces. But for big areas like this, just go in and cover it all. And so you can just use the edge of it. Just don't hold it flat, hold it kind of at an angle. And you can get into tight little areas like between the palm fronds there. Again, the nice thing with these is they're dry. So you can see here I'm touching it and nothing's getting on my fingers. It's nice and dry, so you don't have to worry about getting it on your hand as you're moving across the page. But I'm going to go ahead and finish filling in some of these areas. I'm only going to do half with the temper stick so I can show you the difference between using the temper sticks and using just regular crayon, because they both have their pluses and minuses. So when you're finished with one color, make sure you twist it back down so that way you take care of it and it doesn't get smushed when you put the lid on. Always put the lid on so it doesn't dry out. And then when you take out your next color, just twist it up just a little bit, and you can use the side or the flat end to fill in your next area that you want to color. So earlier I mentioned there's pluses and minuses between using the temper sticks versus just using crayons. And this is one, is the fact that you don't have a ton of color options and they only go on really as one flat color. So here with this brown, it's fine for the tree trunks and it's okay for the coconuts because they tend to be a little bit darker. but you'll see that it goes on really solid and covers up a lot of our lines. Unlike here where we're using this light green and it goes over and we can still see our lines that we've drawn through the green color. We'll see how that can be a little bit of a problem when we get to the sand later on. So when it comes to the sand, if we go back and we're trying to use that on our sand, that dark brown, it's going to be way too dark. So instead, I'm going to take a crayon, just kind of a tan colored crayon, a brownish color. If you don't have tan, you can just use a regular brown and just put less pressure, and it's going to give you that lighter color. So when you're using crayon, it is a lot more precise. You can get into those little details and everything. But the problem with crayon is that it doesn't go on so flat, and you really have to pay attention to the pressure that you're using, how hard you're pushing, and then you also need to watch and try to go in the same direction so that it looks a little bit neater. That's how you can use crayons and look like a pro. You'll see here, I'm just going in, and you can see what a difference it is between the dark brown that we used on the tree trunk and the light brown here that we're using for the sand. Doesn't go on quite as fast as the temper stick, but it still is a pretty quick cover if you're being careful. Okay, so for the other area here, I'm going to go ahead and you'll see that using the green for the island, it's very similar in color to the temper stick that we use. Again, you just want to make sure that you're going in the same direction. You want to make sure you're still getting right up to the line, filling in all of your spaces. You don't want to leave any white areas. We do the same thing with our palm fronds on our tree. Get those all colored in. Okay, so here's where you're going to see the big difference. So we're going to go and use the tan color for the tree trunk and the coconuts. I'm turning my paper so that I can have the way that my wrist works work for me there, because your wrist does kind of pivot, and that's going to help you get smoother strokes on what you're doing. So you can get that all filled in, and you're really going to be able to see the difference between the dark brown and the light brown. And that way you can kind of make a choice as to what materials you have, what colors they allow you, and what you want to use. So I'm going to go in with the blue. I'm just going to press lightly first to get that lighter blue color. And once I have the lighter blue in, now I can just go and put more pressure down and color it in really solid to get the darker blue color. So that's the thing with crayons, is they're kind of like magic. You have two different colors within each crayon. If you press lightly, you have one shade. If you press hard, then you have another. So that's the thing that I really like about crayons, is that you can have that variety in color just based on what pressure you're using. So it's kind of like magic. So another thing you can use, you can also use markers if you have them. So for the towel and the little sand bucket, I want to use markers. I want some more vibrant colors, so I'm just going to go in there with my markers and create a pattern of color. I'm going to alternate the red and the pink. And the markers will work fine over the crayon or after the crayon, as long as you have colored within your lines. If you've gone over the line with your crayon, then the marker will not go through, because the wax from the crayon will repel the marker and I won't color on top of it. We'll go in with the purple for the bucket, and the polka dots, and for our shovel. And then crayon will just go right on top, especially if it's a lighter color. So I'm going to do my green on top of there to finish it off. And the only thing I have left to do is finish my sky. So you can get a lot of precision with the crayon. The thing that you do have to watch out for is making sure that you're coloring going the same direction and that your pressure is even, because otherwise it's going to start to look a little bit messy. So you'll see here I've turned it upside down so I can have a little bit better reach, and I'm trying to get all the edges and everything, just make sure that everything's filled in. But then I'm going to go back and just kind of touch up some areas and kind of smooth things out and try to smooth out those the directional marks so it looks like it's all even. That's the nice thing about the temper sticks, is that they do go on pretty even, and even when there is a little bit of blotchiness with the temper sticks, it's just kind of the style of them. So see here, I'm just trying to even things out, make it look nice and smooth, nice and clean. Go right up into those areas, just kind of, if you've gone up and down in one area, then go back over it and try to go side to side, and it'll kind of help even everything out. And you'll be all set. Alright, so now that we're coming to the end, you can see there are some definite differences between the temper sticks versus the crayons. Mostly those differences are going to come in the color and the texture. So you can see those differences in the sky, between the blues, as well as within the ocean and the grass. Biggest difference is between the sand and the tree trunks there with the two different browns. So make the decision on what works best for you. Good luck!